Hey guys, what's going on? We are doing our third part of this four-part podcast, and we're talking about identity and John the Baptist's ability to know who he was, and we want you to know who you are as well. So, the third thing that John the Baptist says about himself, and again, he said, I am the voice of one, and then the third thing he says about himself is, I am the voice of one calling. Now, I think that word is very interesting, and I believe that the scripture is written out the way that it is for a very specific reason. So this word is used, I think, very importantly. So he didn't just say, I am the voice of one saying. He said, I am the voice of one calling. And you can read in other translations, it'll say, I am the voice of one crying. So I think that word has a lot of importance for us as Christians. Because sometimes God does not just respond to faith. Sometimes God responds to passion. And I think this is important for us, especially when we're in middle school. Because, we want to be cool and we want our friends to like us and we don't necessarily want to stick out too much. We want to be pioneers in a certain respect, but in another respect, we want to go along with the crowd. But sometimes it takes a passionate person who's willing to stick out in a crowd to really get God's attention. For instance, when blind Bartimaeus was on the street and he was asking for alms and asking for money for people that walked by, and one of his friends said, hey, blind Bartimaeus, I know you can't see, but Jesus is just walking by. And then blind Bartimaeus cried out to Jesus. And his friends beside him said, oh, quit calling out to the master, you're being obnoxious. And I think they did that for a couple of reasons. One, I think they were saying, there's so many people around Jesus, he's not going to be able to hear you. There's so much commotion going on. And then secondly, they were saying, you're being obnoxious. Don't be so loud, quiet down. But it says that blind Bartimaeus called out a second time, even after his friends tried to quiet him down. He called out again, Son of David, have mercy on me. And it says that as he cried out that second time from the top of his voice, it said that Jesus stopped in his tracks, turned around, and went over to blind Bartimaeus and healed him. Why? All because blind Bartimaeus was willing to show passion when other people were trying to quiet him down. And he was willing to call out and to cry out with his voice. So Jesus responded that day to blind Bartimaeus because he was willing to show faith and passion. So I think that this is the case with us as well. That when you show passion, when you cry out to God, that's when God will really respond to your prayers sometimes. He won't often respond to those little quiet prayers always where you just say, God, I just want you to bless this food and, everybody that's sick, bless them too. Okay, those prayers may be okay sometimes, but there's also a place for you to truly passionately seek God. And it's okay for you to express yourself passionately in pursuing Christ. That's what John the Baptist did. He said he was a voice of one crying. And let me just say this. It makes sense to cry out when you're talking about Jesus. It makes sense to expressively and emotionally call out when you're talking about something as important as Jesus. When you get excited at a football game, how do you express yourself? You shout, you jump, you may do any number of things. Jesus, how much more important is he? That we should express ourselves maybe in a similar fashion that blind Bartimaeus did, to cry out. Because we know that when we cry out, there's just something about God. He answers our cry. That's what John the Baptist did, and I pray that you'll do it too. You can be a voice of one, crying passionately. Do that with all your heart.